Good evening, everyone. A very, very happy learning hours to each one of you who've tuned in to the Facebook live session of IIU University's National Education Policy India webinar series, day 12. It's been a series of learning experiences for all those who've tuned in. Many, many thanks to all the educators who have kind of pooled in their expertise from across all corners of India, sharing their expertise, sharing their experiences, and providing such a rich learning experience to all those who tuned in. So thank you to all and welcome to day 12, which is another special day and another special topic, which is around adult education as espoused by National Education Policy 2020. So the topic itself tells you that the National Education Policy is not limited or contained to schools alone. Within its ambit is school, vocational, higher education, and adult education, thus making it a 360-degree approach towards universalization of education. And that's a wonderful target to have. On this note, I welcome you all to the NEP series day 12. I'm Dr. Manjeet Lega, a teacher, an educator, a trainer, uh, whatever you may call me. I am so very passionate about every aspect related to education, and I've been blessed to have worked with children, teachers, schools, managements, corporates, whoever and whatever deals with education, children, teachers, and curriculum, etc. But today is not about me. Today is about our guests who've tuned in to share their expertise with us. And today is also about IIU. Let me tell you a little bit about IIU once again as we roll in towards our session. Now, International Internship University is a leading virtual education system and a global brand confederation, the most valued and trusted worldwide and well-reputed brand in delivering innovative program. An example of this is the NEP India webinar series. So IIU is committed to providing highest quality education to all the learners of the globe, regardless of their social or economic background. And it is providing access to more than 1,000 plus courses and internships to e-learners across the globe. In a short span of time, IIU has spread its wings in 195 countries and 6 continents under the strong leadership of its visionary founder, Mr. Piyush Pandit Sir, who is a committed and inspiring social activist, a passionate educationist from the last 2 decades, providing education to students from various social and cultural backgrounds. So Piyush Panditji has publicized the World Education Policy. How amazing is that? The WEP, which talks about one education, one foundation, and one world. Hmm? So education unites all. That I think is a wonderful tagline to go by. And IIU has taken the initiative to reach every learner in rural as well as urban areas through the Vidyanjali project, which is an initiative by the Ministry of Education, Government of India, to provide higher education as well as vocational training and internship opportunities. IIU is the revolution in education. And another proof of the fact that we are reaching all corners of the country and the globe, in fact, is that throughout the India webinar series, we have educators from different spheres, different experiences in life, be it a school, a college, a university, or any other learning platform. The key, the underlying factor which is common amongst all is learning. If you're a teacher, you're always a learner, and that has been constant in all our webinar series. So keeping in queue with this rich introduction towards what the webinar series holds, today we're going to be talking about adult education, and we have 2 distinguished speakers with us today. The first one who's going to take the stage right now is Dr. Binu Thomas. Well, she has so much of experience to her credit that allow me a minute or two to read out. So she is a renowned mentor, a registrar with Sikkim Professional University, and she's been, in the education sphere for 35 years in Sikkim, a very dedicated visionary. She's worked in different universities in the role of dean and registrar and provided leadership and oversight to all aspects of the office of the university. So just to name a few, she's been the resource person for national and international seminars and published papers in national and international journals. She's published books on research papers, question paper setter and evaluator for Sikkim Central University, Sikkim Manipal University, the ICFI University, and the SRM universities. Wow, I've never heard so many universities spoken together in one single sentence. And she's also on the editorial board, and the list goes on and on. She is the Dean, Sikkim Professional University, and also the interim registrar. She's also the Dean, ICFI University. Welcome, Dr. Binu Thomas, to the IIU platform. And today we would love to hear your views about adult education. What comes within the scope of adult education? Why is it needed to be a part of the NEP series? Does it have an impact on the school, on the college education? Does it have an impact on the success of national education policy? Should we have just kind of bothered about schools and colleges and higher education? Why should we bother about adult education? So over to you, ma'am. So to share your thoughts, please. Dr. Binu Thomas.
Thank you, Dr. Manjit, for your great introduction. First of all, towards this institution, as well as myself, you have introduced so well. I'm really honored. I'm really honored to be in this platform, and you being introducing me, it's a great pleasure. Okay, so let's come. Thank you so much, Dr. Manjit, and all the distinguished guests here. I'm really honored to be here, and I would like to speak on this topic, adult education, which I have been doing from for ages, because we had a project when I was working in the school. There was a project, socially useful productive work, where we were having this adult education program with the students of class 10 and 12. They were being given, and they go to the nearby villages, and they try to educate the old or the illiterate people, and that was a big success. And it was the only, I was working in the beginning, I was working in a Scottish missionary school, so that was a big honor. There was a big honor, and we had been given so much of support from the government to do this long time, I'd say maybe about 25 years before. So I am really happy to speak on this topic. So let me just start, and thank you, Dr. Manjit, and all of you to give me this platform to present this topic today. Thank you. So can I share the screen now?
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Can you see the screen, the first screen?
Yes, ma'am.
First slide. Okay, so I am Dr. Binu Thomas, which Dr. Manjit have just introduced. And let me just start with adult education. So first of all, let me just tell you what is adult education. By all of you know about this. We have been doing this for a very long time to the society for all the problems that the people generally face. So adult education adult education is education aimed at matured students that have just 1 minute. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am, we can see your screen.
That have already taken part in the workforce. Learning as a mature student gives individuals the chance to gain new skills. So that is the main thing, to gain new skills and expand their knowledge. So whatever knowledge they have, it has to be expanded. Adult education, distinct from child education, is the practice in which adults engage in systematic and sustained self-educating activities in order to gain new forms of knowledge, skills, attitudes, or values. What it means is it can mean any form of learning adults engage in beyond training, schooling, encompassing basic literacy to personal fulfillment as a lifelong learner and to ensure the fulfillment of a individual. Now, when we come to the next slide, can you see the screen?
Ma'am, it
Okay,
is
okay,
on
okay.
slide number 2.
Slide number 2. Yes, I am just coming. Now moving on to the slide, next slide. So I have the picture here in the first one where you see the old people or the illiterate. Generally, this is for the people who are not educated. They are being taught the basics across the table. It is around the table. That is the first thing. And then now when we see the Indian scenario, adult education reflects a specific philosophy about learning, teaching based on the assumptions that adults can learn, can and want to learn. They are able and willing to take responsibility for the learning, and that learning itself should respond to their needs. So I've got a small picture here. I hope you can see where the village women are being taught by another village woman who is educated. So they have started with a small piece of board. That's a very interesting thing. And it is very encouraging also for the society to help these people in regard to education. Then when we come to these forces are driven by what one needs or wants to learn, the available opportunity and the manner in which one learns. Adult learning is affected by demographics, globalization, and technology. The learning happens in many ways and in many contexts, just as all adults' lives differ. Now, moving on to the next slide, we have we will come to the adult learning can be of the three contexts. First one is formal, non-formal, and informal. These are the basic three contexts on which the adult education takes place. So let me just start with the formal one. So formal one, when you talk about, it is the structured learning that typically takes place in an education or training institution, usually with a set of curriculum and carries credentials. Now, the non-formal education, that is learning that is organized by educational institutions, but not credential. Non-formal learning opportunities can be provided in the workplace and through the activities of civil society organizations and groups. Now, when we move on to the next context, it is the informal education. That is learning that goes on all the time, resulting from daily life activities related to work, family, community, or leisure. Now, next slide. Educating adults differs from educating children in several ways. So most adult education is voluntary. Therefore, the participation generally is educating adults differ from educating children in several ways, given that adults have accumulated knowledge and work experience, which can add on to the learning experience. The most adult education is voluntary. Therefore, the participants are generally self-motivated unless required to participate by an employer. That is one condition that you have. The practice of adult education is referred to refer to distinguish it from traditional school-based education for children, that is the pedagogy, or which is the practice of adult education, which is referred to as andragogy. So these are the two different parts of it. Unlike children, adults are seen as more self-directed rather than relying on others for help. It is important to remember that learning doesn't necessarily stop when you leave secondary school or university. English learning as an adult gives you a chance to make progress in your career and develop valuable new skills. From literacy and numeracy to foreign languages, adult education offers a range of great opportunities to expand your knowledge and learn new skills to improve your career and self-confidence. Now, the next slide. Now, adult education is problem-centered. That is the topic. Next one, which I would like to speak on. Adults are mature and therefore have knowledge and have life experience, which provide them a foundation of learning. An adult's readiness to learn is linked to their need to have the information. Therefore, orientation to learn is problem-centered rather than subject-centered. This adult education is basically linked to, or it is oriented to learn problem-centered rather than the subject-centered, which has been done by the school education. And their motivation to learn is internal. So whether they want to learn or not, it depends on. Now moving on to the next slide, slide number 7. I have a blog here that is adult learning, that is self-concept and motivation to learn, experience, readiness to learn, whether you want to learn or not, orientation to learn. All these are the different forms. So adults frequently apply their knowledge in a practical fashion to learn effectively. They must have a reasonable expectation that the knowledge they gain will help them further their goals. For example, during the 1990s, many adults, including most office workers, enrolled in computer training courses. So which suddenly there was a huge change from the normal education. It was being switched on to computer training courses. I also remember me undergoing after our work, we were made to sit for the computer training courses. These courses would teach basic use of the operating system or specific application software. Because the abstractions governing the user's interaction with the PC were so new, many people who had been working white-collar jobs for 10 years or more eventually took such training courses, either at their own whim to gain computer skills and thus earn higher pays, or at the behest of their managers. Now let me move to the next slide, slide number 8. Adults, the purpose of adult education. Slide number 8. Education in the form of college or university is distinct. In these institutions, the aim is typically related to personal growth and development, as well as occupation and career preparedness. Adult education that focuses specifically on the workplace is often referred to as human resource development. And another goal might be to not only sustain democratic society, but to even challenge and improve its social structure. A common problem in adult education in the US is the lack of professional development opportunities for adult educators. Most adult educators come from other professions and are not well trained to deal with the adult learning issues. Most of the Positions available in this field are only part-time without any benefits or stability, since they are usually funded by government grants that might last for only a couple of years. This is a major defect that has been seen. You have been trained for some time and then you have been given a job for some time. After that, you have to leave the job after a couple of years. Now moving on to slide number 9. In some countries which contain the advanced system of adult education, professional development is available through post-secondary institutions and provide professional development through their Ministry of Education or school boards and through non-governmental organizations. In addition, there are programs about adult education for existing and aspiring practitioners offered at various academic levels by universities, colleges, and professional organizations. Adult educators have long maintained commitments to racial justice and other forms of social justice struggle, which included extensive work at freedom schools during civil rights movement, contemporary commitments to racial justice in adult education include main initiatives in the workplace and beyond. Now let's move to the next slide, slide number 10. The objectives of adult education. The main purpose of adult education, that is what we are going to, that is the most important thing, is to provide a second chance for those who are poor in society or who have lost access to education for other reasons in order to achieve social justice and equal access to education. Therefore, adult education is often a social policy of the government. So which we had done it, in my experience, we had done with the children. We also go to the villages, monitor the session, and it was quite an interesting session. Or we see that we have done something for the society. Continuing education can help adults maintain certifications, fulfill job requirements, and stay up to date on new developments in their field. Also, the purpose of adult education can be vocational, social, recreational, or for self-development. One of its goal may be to help adult learners satisfy their personal needs and achieve their professional goals. With the development of economy and progress of society, the requirement of human quality has been raised. Because of adult education, the quality of the people have raised. In the 1960s, the proposition of lifelong education was put forward, which led to the change of contemporary educational concepts. Therefore, its ultimate goal might be to achieve human fulfillment. The goal might also be to achieve an institution's need also. For example, this might include improving its operational effectiveness and productivity. A large-scale goal of adult education may be the growth of society by enabling its citizens to keep up the societal change and maintain good social order. Now moving on to the next slide, slide number 11. One fast-growing sector of adult education is English for speakers of other languages, that is English speakers of other languages, ESOL, also referred to as English as second language, ESL, or English language learners, ELL. These courses are key in assisting immigrants with not only the acquisition of English language, but the acclimation process to the culture of United States as well as other English-speaking countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, etc. According to the international law, the aims of education include the full development of the human personality and the sense of its dignity, and to enable all persons to participate effectively in a free society. These aims and the other aims of education under international law cannot be met through education delivered exclusively to children. The right to education therefore recognizes the importance of education as a lifelong process. The early years are considered foundational for lifelong learning, where each level of education lays the building blocks for further education throughout a person's life. So let's moving to slide number 12. Adult education and learning is an integral part of right to education. Part of right to education and lifelong learning, and comprises all forms of education and learning that aim to ensure that all adults participate in their societies and the world of work. It denotes the entire body of learning processes, formal, non-formal, and informal, which has been discussed before, whereby those regarded as adults by the society in which they live develop and enrich their capabilities for living and working, both in their own interest and those of their communities, organizations, and societies. Adult education also benefits the individual by, number one, being instrumental in the enjoyment of other human rights, for instance, the rights to work, health, and to take part in cultural life and in the conduct of public affairs. Number two, empowering economically and socially marginalized adults to understand, question, and transform through critical awareness the sources of their marginalization, including lifting themselves out of poverty. Number three, building the skills and knowledge necessary to participate in society. Number four, facilitating active citizenship. Now, moving on to the next slide, slide number 13. Okay, let's look into our online learning courses, which are aligned to the national standards to comply with functional skills for adults. From literacy to numeracy, learning online with our programs gives adults a chance to expand their knowledge and skill sets. Adult education can take many forms and cover many different subjects, as well as literacy and numeracy. Many mature age students study languages, sciences, and a range of their other important subjects. Employers in the fields from healthcare to cybersecurity are struggling to find qualified workers, and online education can help adults of all ages quickly gain the skills needed to fill these positions and improve their career trajectories. At the same time, workers are re-evaluating their career opportunities and looking to enter better paying fields. Now moving to the next slide. To meet these needs, online education to meet these needs, slide number 13, sorry, 14. To meet these needs, the needs capture the attention of prospective students and distinguish themselves from competitors. Online education providers could consider 5 strategic moves. Say, number 1, integrate skill building and degree attainment to meet student and labor market needs. Transform career planning and coaching services. Revolutionize employer relationship. Deliver a distinctive learning experience and build a bold and distinctive brand. Now let's move to the next slide, that is slide number 15. What to consider when choosing adult education program? Wide range of adult education programs are available, making it important to choose a high quality program that aligns with your goals. Good adult education programs should focus on teaching students important, valuable skills. Key aspects of an adult education program to look for include a focus on teaching specialized skills that can be put into practice in the workplace and content that can easily be understood by the students. Now, next slide about the advantages of adult education. And I have a blog here also which says the adult learning principles, which is mainly self-directed, ready to learn, internally motivated, have an experience, problem-oriented. So this is why, how this is what you have to consider when choosing education, adult education program. Next is, what are the advantages of adult education? There are numerous advantages to adult education. Learning after secondary school as a mature aged student allows adults to develop valuable skills to improve career prospects and expand their professional knowledge. Developing literacy and numeracy skills in adulthood also gives individuals a better ability to reach their full potential. Many adult students gain additional confidence in their academic skills after pursuing adult education. Finally, adult education teaches students valuable skills that can be put into action in a wide range of situations. The confidence and the aptitude gained with the adult education is valuable both in and out of the workplace. Now, challenges, the last topic that I would like to speak is on the challenges of adult education. Slide number 17. While the importance of adult education is immense, there are a range of challenges that the adult learners may face. These include the difficulty of balancing education and a full-time career, which is difficult for people in a full-time employment. This is for the people who are doing full-time employment. If they want to improve their career, their education, then it is difficult for them to balance education as well as their full-time employment. Other common challenges include the difficulty of returning to a classroom setting after spending years in the workplace. That is also a sort of ego which the people face. So you are put in a position, you have all power and authority, you are earning, and then you are back to the classroom setting. That is common challenge. This is one of the common challenges, which include the difficulty of returning to classroom setting after spending years in the workplace. Many adult students also struggle to find the time to pursue education alongside their obligation to work and as well as work, a place, as well as their home. Now, motivation. Adult learners often struggle where the motivation for learning is necessity rather than interest. So when that comes, they will always struggle when learning is a necessity. So it can also be hard when attention is divided between different responsibilities. It is important to find a course with content that inspires and can be immediately applicable to all professionals. Then there are also other technical issues that we can talk about. The biggest external barrier for most adults returning to education is their problem which they face in their lifestyle as well as their home. So adult learners acquire their knowledge very differently to children. They are much more result-driven, goal-oriented, and practical, as well as being self-directed. When it comes to technology, we cannot simply assume that all adult learners understand to know what to do with technology. So this is one of these are the few challenges that you see. So what are the best way for adults to learn? People need to practice as they learn and hear things more than once to remember them. That is one of the other problems. You need to listen properly. Encourage questions and discussions during the class. Use hands-on practice, role-playing, non-competitive quizzes, and other exercises often incorporate information presented earlier into new activities. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Binu Thomas, for such a detailed overview about what adult education is all about. What do we mean? What is formal, informal, semi-formal adult education? What is the what is the scope of adult education? What all does it include? Ma'am, can we request you to stop screen sharing, please?
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So then we can roll back to the core discussion about, what is the adult education all about. So while Dr. Binu Thomas gave us a very valuable insight about, what is adult education all about, right? So we shall now, and I really loved about the challenges that she talked about, the challenges in adult education. Adult education is not just for the marginalized society. Adult education is also for people like you and me who may want to better their professional experience and expertise. So, but now we are going to shift focus to our next speaker for the day, who is Hitendra Sonji. And before I, bombard him with the subtopics on which I want more clarity on from him, I'm going to introduce Hitendra Sonji as Soneji. His name itself has gold in it, right? Armina, can you please shift the focus? It is still this. I think the spotlight is still on Binu Thomas, ma'am, right? So Hitendra Soneji is the founder, CEO of Will to Win Soft Skill Development Training Center based at Baroda, Gujarat. And he's a motivational speaker, pan-India corporate trainer and author of the book, The Secret of Life, President Vadodara chapter to MSME and Startups Forum Bharat, expertise in motivational and behavior trainings, specializes in sales training, having experience of 30 years, and has trained more than 60,000 individuals with more than 300 corporate companies associated with Will to Win Soft Skills Development Training Center. Well, sir, we also have a will to win, and we would love to sharpen our expertise of winning over the knowledge of all the aspects of the National Education Policy 2020. So, sir, over to you. And from you, what I would like you is to throw light on what are the aspects of adult education as earmarked by the National Education Policy. What does it say for adult education? What is the framework that it talks about? What is the infrastructure that it talks about? What are the technology advantages with respect to adult education, or how do we leverage technology for adult education? So, sir, over to you to throw light on adult education with respect to National Education Policy 2020.
Uh, Thank you, Dr. Manjeet. And I thank you, Dr. Binu Thomas, also for putting a good insight about adult education. And before starting, I would like to, actually thank Mr. Piyush sir and IIU team for such a wonderful NEP Policy 2020 organizing this webinar series and giving me an opportunity also to put my insights also. So today, I will just screen share first. So today I may take a little bit of time because something I have to give you some good insights on this NEP adult educations about the government policies, why this NEP has started, what is this adult education all about. So to start with, so there are three verticals of adult educations. Now, number one is illiterate. Now, once you say a illiterate person, so whom do you call a illiterate person? So a illiterate person is an uneducated person, ignorant person, unlettered, unable to read and write, and alphabetic and numeric. At large, the percentage of the population is illiterate. The second vertical is semi-literate. Then what is this semi-literate? Semi-literate are the people, number A, able to read and write on an elementary level. Then B is able to read but unable to write. Then number C, having limited knowledge or understanding. So there are three categories of semi-illiterate people. So one, those who can read and write at the elementary, that is very much at the preliminary level they know, right? And the second is people are, they can read, but they cannot write. They have learned to read, but they have never learned to write the things, right? And number three category is the people with a limited knowledge, or you can say the understanding. Whatever you try to make them understand, they don't understand the things quickly. They cannot grab that things very quickly. The number three vertical is literate people. And literate people, you know, who are they? Very educated and cultured people, able to read and write, having knowledge or competencies. So these are the three verticals of adult education. So what we will be focusing more on the literacy. We will understand what is literacy, because it is very, very important to know and understand what is literacy, so that the illiteracy can be, you can say, vanished from India. So it is essential to have a clear understanding of what literacy is. According to the definition provided in the Indian census, literacy is defined as acquiring the skills of reading, writing with understanding. Now, this is very important thing. Just listen very carefully. Acquiring the skills of reading, writing with understanding. Now, this is very, very important point. To understand the things, what you read, you should understand, and what you write, you should know what you are writing. You should understand what you are expressing yourself, right? Your communication, how you communicate, right? So that the other person should understand what you are trying to say, right? If you understand your communication, then only the other person can understand your communication. So this is very, very vital point in literacy, that the skill of reading. Reading means everybody can read, but how many people understand what they are reading? So reading with understanding, writing with understanding is very important. So anyone aged 7 or above with the ability to read and write at least in any one language is considered a literate person. UNESCO and National Literacy Mission have their own definition of literacy. The international definition provided by UNESCO consists of three main concepts: the ability to read and write, knowledge of a language, that is any one language, the skills needed for a person to work, communicate, and participate in the society. Then having a basic understanding of these components makes it easier to evaluate literacy rates around the world. Over 93% of those who completed secondary education can read and write, compared with only 66% of those who completed lower levels of education. While boys are more likely than girls to be enrolled in schools at all levels of education, there is little gender difference in attendance past primary education. The literacy rate in India. 2022. This is the latest rate, latest information which I am sharing with you. A literate person is a vital asset to the nation's development, right? Because education is must. Without knowledge, you cannot do anything. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. The more you learn, the more you become literate. The more the literate you are, the more responsible you are. The more the responsible you are, the more the successful person you are. So that is why learning is very important. Gaining knowledge is very important because knowledge is power. So you have to gain the knowledge, you have to learn. You have to learn how to read and write. The high literacy rate is important to ensure that people are trained in complex communication. This is very, very important point. I think everybody should learn this skill of communication, how to communicate well. This is the most required skill to be learned by everybody. Everybody. How can you express yourself? How can you express your ideas? How can you deliver your messages to others so that the other person understands your message, understands your ideas? So effective communication, learning effective communication is very, very important and vital skill to be learned by everybody. And the critical thinking skills, how to think critically, that is practical. Think practical. What is possible for you? What is possible for you to do? Right? So think in that fashion. As skills are necessary to thrive in the workplace and a global economy. So India's literacy rate has been rising in recent years. It's a very good news, but the country still has a long way to go before its population truly becomes literate. The national average of people who can read, write, and communicate has more than doubled since 2001. However, literacy rates vary greatly between different areas of the country. Why does India's literacy rate matters? It matters because literacy is the foundation of opportunity and development. When you can read and write, you can have access to information and ideas that will help you improve your standard of living and enable you to better career for your family and yourself. The literacy rate in India is one of the major factors of socio-economic process in addition to academic achievements. So it is literacy is the foundation, is an opportunity to develop yourself. Now, one more thing I would like to this adult education, it is writing and reading is important, but what about the technology part? Right? So technology, learning technology is also equally important because now see, world is changing. Everything is having a great technology. Everything is based on the technology. If you see your computers, your internets, your mobile phones, everything is on technology, right? How to order fruits and vegetables from Big Basket, right? Home delivery from Swiggy. Then how to order online products, right? Because now we use online products. We purchase through online. We purchase so many things, right? Like from watches to dresses to shoes, so many things we purchase online. So the literacy in the technology is equally important, right? As reading and writing is important, so technology is also important. We have to literate people in technology also. So how can they operate their mobile phones, right? How can they operate their laptops or their computers? They should be aware about the Google search, right? How to generate their email IDs, how to send emails and receive emails. So it is a part of a technology. It is a learning. Again, this is the literacy. You have to be literate, not only in reading and writing, but in technology also. This is an opportunity and the development part where people can grow and earn money. They can have a good job. They can have a good employment when they know to read, write, and along with that, how to use the technology. So India's literacy rate has increased dramatically over the past 4 decades. According to the report published in the National Survey of India, the literacy rate of India in 2022 is 77.7%. The literacy rate in 2011 was 73%. Now, there is an increase of 4% compared to the last census data. It's pretty impressive compared to other developing countries. But it still means that nearly 1 in 4 Indians remain unable to read and write compared to about 1 in 8 people worldwide. Kerala is the most literate state in India. The literacy rate of Kerala is 96.2% as per UNESCO. India will achieve universal literacy in the year 2060. On 8th September, International Literacy Day is celebrated around the world every year. Yes, so remember this date, 8th September, as International Literacy Day, which is celebrated worldwide. The global literacy rate is estimated to be 86.5% by UNESCO. Now, literacy rate in India in 2022 is 77.7%. Now, male literacy rate of India is 84.7%. Female literacy rate of India is 70.3%. The gap between the literacy rate of males and females remains grave. Girls dropping out of schools increased due to economic difficulties. With the launch of many female literacy campaigns, the gender gap could narrow in the coming years. Literacy rate in urban areas of India is 87.7%. Literacy rate in rural areas of India is 73.5%. Now, what is adult education? As Dr. Binu has already explained about adult education, so I would add something more flavor to it. So what is adult education? Is adult education a practice or a program, a methodology or an organization, a science or a system, a process or a profession? Is adult education different from continuing educational, vocational education, higher education? Does adult education have form and substance, or does it merely permeate through the environment like air? Is adult education therefore everywhere and not yet nowhere in particular? Does adult education even exist? So these are the few questions which everybody is having in their mind. There are so many lot of questions. What is adult education is all about? So let us deep dive in it. So adult education is concerned not with preparing people for life, but rather with helping people to live more successfully. Thus, if there is to be an overarching function of the adult education enterprise, it is to assist adults to increase competencies or negotiate transactions in their social roles, be a worker, parents, or retired person, anybody, to help them gain greater fulfillment in their personal lives and to assist them in solving personal and community problems. Adult education is work with adults to promote learning for adulthood. Approached via an interest in goals, adult education could involve work with children so that they may become adult. Now, this new venture is called adult education, not because it is confined to adults, but because adulthood maturity defines its limits. One way to approach this is to contrast adult education with the sort of learning that we engage in as part of everyday living. Adult education can be then seen as, for example, the process of managing the external conditions that facilitate the internal change in adults called learning. In other words, it is a relationship that involves a conscious effort to learning something. Now, learning comes from within. We cannot force anybody to learn, right? We cannot pressurize anybody to learn, right? It is from within. They have to be self-motivated. They should have an interest of upgrading themselves or learning new things. So the meaning of adult, a further issue is the various meaning given to adult. We might approach the notion, for example, such as biological states, that is the change in hormones from childhood to then adulthood. Then legal state, that is age 18 for females and age 21 for males. Then psychological state, their self-concept is that of an adult. That psychology plays a biggest role, that I am an adult person, now how can I learn, right? So there are so many aspects of psychology. So form of behavior, adulthood has been in touch with one's capacities, whatever the context. Set of social roles, that is the responsibilities they hold. Adulthood as the performance of certain roles, example, working or raising your children, etc. Different societies and cultures will have contrasting understanding of what it is to be adult. Adult can be set against child. In between adult and child, or more accurately, overlapping, there may be an idea of youth. Now there is a transformation taking place. Transformation from child to the adulthood. So there is a transformation. So at base, adults are older than children, and with this comes a set of expectations. They are not necessarily mature, but they are supposed to be mature. And it is on this necessary supposition that their adulthood justifiably rest. Andragogy and pedagogy. Andragogy is defined as the art and science of helping adults learn. It's distinguished from pedagogy, the school-based education traditionally used for children. Education for adults have a different focus based on the fact that adults are more self-directed and require less guidance, mature and bring more experience to their task of learning, ready to learn and primed to learn with what they need to know, more oriented to learning that is problem-centered rather than subject-centered, which Dr. Binnu already has explained very well about problem-centered and the subject-centered. More internally motivated to learning. So adults are more internally motivated. Once you are internally motivated, then only you will be able to learn, because we cannot force anybody to study. So adult education and continuing education. Adult education is synonymous with continuing education. The world of lifelong learning is wide open and covers a variety of circumstances, including going to college for the first time after the age 25, returning to the college to finish a degree, working towards a graduate degree, learning a technical skills, taking classes at your local community center for the sheer fun of it. Adult Education and National Education Policy 2020. So National Education Policy 2020 was launched on 29/7/2020. It has recommended that strong and innovative government initiatives for adult education, in particular to facilitate community involvement and the smooth and beneficial integration of technology, will be affected as soon as possible to expedite this all important aim of achieving 100% literacy. So NEP 2020 has also recommended for taking up 5 components of adult education, that is foundational literacy and numeracy, critical life skills, including financial literacy, digital literacy, commercial skills, healthcare and awareness, childcare and education, and family welfare. So these are some critical skills, which is to be taken care, right? For financial, right? How to deal with the banks, right? We have to literate people, right? How to deposit your money, how to withdraw your money from the bank, or how to use your ATM cards, right? So that is the part, financial part that is associated with digital world. That is a technological world. So we have to make the people literate in that digital world also. What is this digital world? It is all about technology. So we have to literate people in technology also. So vocational skills and development with a view towards obtaining local employment. Basic education, including preparatory, middle and secondary stage evaluation, and continuing education, including engaging holistic adult education courses in arts, science, technology, culture, sports, and recreation, as well as other topics of interest, or use of local learners, such as more advanced material on critical life skills, which are very, very important. So what are the importance of adult education? Who says learning shouldn't continue into childhood? Adult education gives mature learners the chance to increase their knowledge, develop new skills, and gain helpful qualifications and credentials. Now, I have seen many adults, many graduates, those who have stopped learning. Once they got the degree from the university, they find the job for themselves. Once they are into the job, they forget learning. Once you forget your learning, so that means you have stopped your growth. The person's growth is through learning only, and learning is lifelong. You cannot stop learning. Even if you are a graduate, if you have done your master's degree, even if you have done your PhD, whatever education you have, whatever degrees you are, it doesn't matter how many degrees you have, it doesn't matter. It only matters that you should continue to learn, continue to increase your knowledge, develop new skills, right? So that is going to help you in your professional and your personal growth. The importance of education is difficult to overstate. Adult education plays an important role in helping matured age learners develop new skills and improve the career prospects available to them. NEP 2020 has designed a program for the adult education where people will be made literate and study the key areas according to their professions. Firstly, let us look at how adult education can help an individual in life. A person can carry their financial transactions on their own, fill forms for the opportunities in their interested fields, teach their own children, improves one's life through the right education, follow instructions and safety measures in times of emergency or crisis, appreciate literacy and promote the same. So what are the challenges of adult education? While the importance of adult education is immense, there are a range of challenges that adult learners may face. This includes the difficulty of balancing education and full-time career, which is difficult for people in full-time employment because they have to earn for their family. So they cannot leave their jobs and go for learning. So there are a program that NEP has come up for those working professionals. So they can learn through online programs after their work, right? Once they are free from their job, they can go to their home and they can learn by their own on e-learning platforms. So other common challenges include the difficulty of returning to the classroom setting after spending years in the workplace. Many adult students also struggle to find the time to pursue education alongside their obligations at work and at home. So my message, what should you know? It's important to remember that learning doesn't necessarily stop when you leave secondary school or university. You have to learn and learn till you die. So e-learning as an adult gives you the chance to make progress in your career and develop valuable new skills. Now, once you don't have time, so you can take the time out of your own. Whenever you are free, you can go to the e-learning process. So from literacy and numeracy to foreign languages, adult education offers a range of great opportunities to expand your knowledge and learn new skills to improve your career and develop self-confidence. So with this, I thank you. Namaste and happy learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Hitendra Soneji sir, for your really, really powerful and motivating words about goading us into adult education. And I loved your definition about adult education. Adult education is simply learning continued to adulthood. And I also personally believe that it is the learning which rescues cells from death. As long as we keep
Right.
learning, we remain alive, we remain young, we remain active, and age has nothing to do with learning. So that is adult learning is basically continued learning or
Right.
lifelong learning. So thank you so much for your valuable insights, and I'm sure all those who've tuned in to the session today about adult education NEP 2020 are going to go back more enriched with what is adult education all about and how to deal with it in their sphere, whether they are an educator, a parent, an adult, an institution owner, or whatever their role may be. So thank you so much, Dr. Binu Thomas and Hitendra Soneji, for
Thank
being
you.
with us today and making the platform alive with your views, your experiences, and your insights. A big thank you again to our super awesome IIU, International Internship University, and the India webinar series. Thank you so much, Piyush Panditji, for bringing this platform alive again. The concept is simply awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Snigdha, the people behind the scenes who are making this happen, and Armina, again, who joins us all the way from across the globe every time we have a webinar series. Thank you so much, all, and we will see you tomorrow. Good evening, namaste, and have a great evening ahead. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you very much.